Hi, welcome to Take 5, where we daily consider devotional thoughts from Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest. Today's February 13th, and the title of today's devotional is The Devotion of Hearing. Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant hears." 1 Samuel 3 and verse 10. Relationship with God must have the elements of listening and hearing Him. The focus scripture comes from the Old Testament book of 1 Samuel, chapter 3. It's very interesting how it begins. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were infrequent. The Hebrews had been in the Promised Land some 450 years, but their love for God had grown cold, particularly in the spiritual leaders. Eli was the priest, and he had two sons who, between the three of them, very poorly led the spiritual life of the nation. This is why it was rare to receive word from God during that time. The arrival of Samuel to Eli's doorstep denoted the beginning of a new era. It was as a young boy that God first spoke to Samuel, and the lad was unfamiliar with the voice. It was good that, even though not spoken to himself, that Eli knew how to direct his young protege in listening to God. The main instruction was openness and obedience. The follower of God must be desirous to hear from God. In the devotional of January 16th, Dr. Chambers said, "The majority of us cannot hear anything but ourselves, and we cannot hear anything God says. But to be brought to the place where we can hear the call of God is to be profoundly changed." It is here in 1 Samuel 3 that we are told of that profoundly changing moment in the life of Samuel. Chambers instructs us, "The goal of my spiritual life is such close identification with Jesus Christ that I will always hear God and know that God always hears me." Throughout today's study, Chambers refers to the devotion of hearing. Regarding this, Oswald tells us, "If I am united with Jesus Christ, I hear God all the time through the devotion of hearing. A flower, a tree, or a servant of God may convey God's message to me." In saying this, he refers back to the devotional of January 10th, where he says, "If we are children of God, we have a tremendous treasure in nature and realize that it is holy and sacred. We will see God reaching out to us in every wind that blows, every sunrise and sunset, every cloud in the sky, every flower that blooms, and every leaf that fades, if we will only begin to use our blinded thinking to visualize it." That's from February 10th. God speaks to us constantly through His creation, revealing to us His wonder, His power, His love, His grace. Chambers continues today's lesson. "What hinders me from hearing is my attention to other things. It is not that I don't want to hear God, but I am not devoted in the right areas of my life. I am devoted to things and even to service and my own convictions. God may say whatever He wants, but I just don't hear Him." Here, Dr. Chambers addresses a huge flaw in our makeup of being too busy with busyness to hear Him speak. Closing out, he says, "The attitude of a child of God should always be, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant hears.' If I have not developed and nurtured this devotion of hearing, I can only hear God's voice at certain times. At other times, I become deaf to Him because my attention is to other things which I think I must do. This is not living the life of a child of God." Have you heard God's voice today? If you haven't yet read today's devotional from Dr. Chambers' book, I encourage you to do so, for it will enhance the time that we spend together. It's available free online for study. I invite you to share here your thoughts from today's reading, any questions that you may have. Also, please share your prayer requests as well. And now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for His highest. God bless you. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.